Coming up on the dark side of victory. Jalen Benson nearly lost his life playing high school football. He shares the struggles that athletes just like him face both mentally and physically well before anyone knows their name.
I was very depressed and I started to lose myself physically, mentally, emotionally.
You know, it's not about winning the football games, scoring touchdowns and all that kind of stuff. It's about how you develop a child, you know, because the end game is their life.
Coach Ted Ginn Sr., a Hall of Fame high school football coach, has guided countless athletes, including his own son, to success in the pros and college football. But for him, it's not about winning games or even scoring touchdowns. It's about developing children into better people off the field. Hello, and welcome to this special newscast, The Dark Side of Victory. Today, we are addressing a crucial question. Does the culture of competitive sports push athletes towards violence? While competitive sports often inspire athletes to strive for greatness and achieve what once seemed unattainable, there is a complex and often hidden side to this pursuit, one that is marked by intense pressure, mental health struggles, and in some tragic cases, even death. We will look beyond the victories and applause to examine how the demands of sports culture affect athletes' lives both on and off the field. From high-profile incidents to personal stories, we will explore the facts, the history, and the ongoing debate over whether the pressures of competition contribute to troubling behavior off the field. It was a routine tackle, the kind of play that he's made countless times before. But this one ended with a trip to the hospital and a fight for his life. Jalen Benson recalls the day that changed everything, leaving challenges that he carries with him to this day.
So the play that caused me to suffer the injury, it was a play destined for me. It was a play that I was the only one that could actually make the play. But instead, I had a head-to-head collision with the lead blocker to where I was the one who was impacted and fell head first on the ground, on the field, to where I blacked out completely. Didn't know necessarily what was going on. Later on, had got, transported to the ambulance, to the hospital, and I suffered a cerebral hematoma, which was a blood clot that popped inside my brain.
Let's get dressed for the battle. Come on. Let us put on the whole armor of God.
As a child, Jalen preached with unwavering faith, but when his injury ended his football career, the game that had defined so much of his life, he was left struggling with depression and the loss of identity. Through it all, the faith he learned as a kid became his anchor.
Yeah, so after the injury and after the surgery, I dealt with it pretty hard. Knowing the fact that I'm no longer to play football again, and I necessarily didn't know what my passion outside of football. I was dealing with a lot, and also knowing I couldn't necessarily do any physical activity. So I was very depressed, and I started to lose myself physically, mentally, emotionally, and somewhat spiritually. But I started to realize and know that, my faith is going to help me and has helped me in the long run through the situation that I went through.
Jalen's battle with depression after his injury is not uncommon. A recent NCAA study shows 30% of college athletes face mental health challenges like anxiety and depression, especially after injuries. Dr. Dawn Owens Watterson shares her insights on how athletes can handle these challenges.
Taking a step back and saying, it's okay. I need to breathe. I need to step back. I think counseling is a wonderful, people don't need to go to counselors just because something is wrong, right? It's okay to have a counselor. It's okay to go to therapy, just to manage your way through life. And especially when having to deal with the physicality of sports and the mental issues with sports and outside of sports. Okay, so yeah, I'm doing sports. I'm playing football every single day, but I'm also still going to school. I also still have a family. I also still have friends. I still have to navigate through life. So having someone who you can talk to, a therapist who is non-biased, right? That I think will help. And then to give you kind of ways to deal with stress. So breathing, walking away, having somebody else to talk to, so that you have a mental way to deal with it. So then you're not going to other, means.
Dr. Owens Watterson emphasizes the importance of therapy and counseling for athletes navigating the mental challenges of football. But incidents of athletes committing violent crimes and breaking the law have raised serious concerns. This prompts a deeper question. Does the sport and the culture surrounding it contribute to these behaviors?
I mean, if you think about when you're playing these contact sports, you're getting rewarded for physically hurting other people, right? So I don't think that it's that difficult to extrapolate from that to go on to real life, because oftentimes they may not be taught how to deal with interactions with people, or how to deal with altercations where they're the way that they deal with it normally is violence. And so they may not understand or know that the way that I handle it on the field is not how I handle it outside. And so I think that it's definitely correlated. The violence on the field can definitely be correlated outside the field as well.
Yeah, so I think that, playing sports, especially football, with it being a contact sport, it does, for me personally, it translated off the field because, since 5 years old, playing football, I've been being aggressive, giving my 100%, executing on things. And that transition has been hard because I still have that same mentality. I don't know how to necessarily calm myself down to completely be removed from the game.
After reflecting on how the aggression from the game spilled over into his everyday life, we asked Jalen, knowing the physical and mental risk involved in playing football, if he would return to the field given a clean bill of health. His response sheds light on the internal conflict athletes face when deciding between their love for the game and the toll it takes.
At the time that I got injured, if I had the opportunity to play, I would go back and play the game that I loved and grew up on. But now as I got older, I would not go back to play the game just because I realized that my health is important as far as physically and mentally. And there are many things that I can accomplish outside of the game.
For those involved in contact sports, the stakes are high. Studies show that 35% of athletes in high contact sports report aggression-related issues, with about 45% experiencing chronic stress from their sport. These factors can lead to increased incidents of aggression and mental health struggles.
Glenville, a small city on Cleveland's east side, faces a violent crime rate 448% higher than the national average. Yet Glenville High School has produced over 20 NFL players and countless college athletes. Hall of Fame coach Ted Ginn Sr., the head coach since 1997, says the secret lies in setting the table for his players, giving them the tools and guidance to succeed both on and off the field.
I think that the thing that I would like people to know, that I don't use the sport to win games and things like that. I use the sport as a mentor. I use the sport as a table. And a table, what I mean by that is that to give direction. So, I'm an older guy. So, things have changed. It's most of the people that out here now, we was raised in the house from a table. The community was different. The table was the centerpiece of your home. And at the table was your mother, your father, your grandparent, and they gave you direction. The problem that we're having in the world is that nobody's sitting at the table with the children. Nobody's teaching, nobody is giving direction. So I use the sport, football, the track, the school as a table to give directions, to give guidance, and to teach children how to make it, because the communities are broke.
We asked Coach Ginn about the rise in violent actions and mental health issues in athletes and how sports culture plays a role. He believes a player's future is shaped by how they're introduced to the game. What's his approach? Well, he teaches players that football is a tool for success, but not their entire life.
I think that where the mistake come in with athletes, it all depends on how you was introduced. If I've always said that it's just a vehicle that we use to use to prepare you for life, transition you to where you're trying to go in life. We just use the sport to do that, so you teach life, you teach it everything in it. And at the end of the day, it's just a sport. It's lessons learned in each sport. It's lessons learned in football, but it's not your life. It's just what we use to create a situation that you can have a life. So I think that a lot of times the children are introduced in the wrong manner. We have to always change their mindset that it's just football. It's just something that we're going to use to teach you how to be a productive citizen in the world. And if we can use it to move your head as far as education-wise and get you prepared for life, that's what we do it for. But it don't work out like that sometimes for a lot of children because they was exposed to it the wrong way.
Welcome back to the dark side of victory. Today we've gained a deeper understanding of the complex relationship between competitive sports, mental health, and accountability. As we've observed, sports can serve as a source of personal growth, discipline, and achievement, but they can also impose intense pressures that significantly impact athletes' well-being. For athletes, coaches, and fans, this serves as a reminder that the pursuit of excellence should not come at the expense of mental health. For sports to be a true force for good, it is essential to find a balance, one that prioritizes mental health support and upholds a high standard of accountability. As this conversation evolves, let's remember both the power of sports and the potential human cost associated with it. I've been Tyon Posey, and this is the Dark Side of Victory. If you are an athlete or have a loved one who is an athlete facing mental health challenges, support is just a call or click away. Contact the National Alliance on Mental Illness at NAMI.org. Text HOME to 741-741 for the crisis text line. Visit athletesforhope.org or connect with the U.S. Center for Mental Health and Sport at mentalhealthandsport.org.